Home is where connections are made, memories are formed, and ideas are born. And no one knows home better than NFM. Thanks for tuning in to I Am Home, the podcast that goes deeper than trends and dives into what it means to make your house a home.
Tyler Weiskup here from NFM headquarters with Becca Sudbeck, the great and wonderful and powerful Becca Sudbeck.
Hi, Tyler.
Hey, Becca. And Hilary Waltermath, Visual Display General Manager.
Hey.
Hey, Hilary. And today we're going to be talking about some questions that I have from my own home. Specifically, we've brought in Vicki Pospisal, one of NFM's category financial planners, and our new guest host around yoga and mindfulness. Thank you, Vicki, for being here.
You bet.
So I'm super excited to talk to you. As a reminder for anyone listening, our new guest hosts are NFMers with life passions. They're home life experts that we're going to call on from time to time to answer your, and in this case, my questions. But before we get to that, let me tell you why we're even doing this podcast, and that's because NFM is more than just your everything home store. We're in the business of improving lifestyles because your home life should be your best life. Learn more at nfm.com. And okay, so we've got Vicki, of course. So I want to jump into the questions this week. As we were chatting a little bit before we started the podcast, my wife has been practicing yoga at home since the start of the pandemic with a local gym, and recently they stopped online classes. And so my questions are all related to that and hoping to kind of help give her some inspiration, some ideas. We'll see if she finds any of this helpful. I hope she does, but I know she will because it's Vicki. And she's
the expert.
She's an expert. Absolutely. So my first question, Vicki, is like when you're thinking about picking a yoga gym, what are the things that you need to think about? Let's start there.
Okay, so that's a really good question. So one of the things that I would consider if I were joining a new gym, and I don't think that this is unique to yoga. One, I would go off of recommendations from friends because I think that just like shopping somewhere like here, you really lean on word of mouth. Mm-hmm. So starting there, and then looking into that gym to see if they offer anything like first class free or just drop-in passes so you can actually give that gym a try, just like one class. Mm-hmm. So doing something like that, and then also trying somewhere more than once. Mm-hmm. So, you know, a lot of places have more than one instructor, they have more than one style. So maybe you did or did not vibe with the first teacher you tried somewhere. Yeah. So giving that location a try more than once. So honestly, I would shop around and just try multiple places because it's more than just the vibe of the teacher or that specific class. It's the vibe of the community. Mm. So before you invest in doing monthly memberships somewhere, really getting that whole feel when you walk in the door to when you leave, that it's someplace that you're going to continually want to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Some people like a standoffish mentality, like you walk into the gym and they're kind of like mean to you. Is that like... Do you guys, no, you don't like that? I feel like that's a thing. Like some people, no. But like if you're thinking about the vibe of the community.
Maybe some people do like that. I don't know.
They need therapy.
But I mean.
It's never been on my criteria.
Yeah. But some people maybe don't want to be talked to or don't, they just want to go in and do their thing. Mm-hmm. And I could see that. And I've had people in my classes that just, you can tell when they walk in, they just want to be left alone. Mm-hmm. Yep. So I understand what you're saying with that. Maybe not standoffish, but I just want to be left alone, and that's totally fine. And that's just part of, they feel comfortable doing that in
They're not in it
their
for the
community.
social benefits.
So, So that's part of trying it out. Does that feel okay? Like if you're one of those people that just does not want to socialize, do you feel okay doing that in the gym space that works for you? Also, location is huge. So is it
convenient?
Yeah. Is it feasible to go there over and over again? Are the class times okay? Do they offer online? Because a lot of places still do. So just looking for those added benefits.
Yeah. Yeah. Being able to do both. I mean, if that's something that's important to you, especially if you're trying to like continue a habit or start a new habit, especially. Sure. I mean, that's I know that's a big factor for my wife as well. Is like she wants to do this thing, but like it's still exercise to a degree, and you wanna be able to like make it easy for yourself to kind of make it happen.
Yeah, I'd be curious if anybody else in that participated in the online sessions have gone elsewhere. If she's made any connections with those people.
Yeah.
If they'd have, to Vicki's point, have some recommendations.
I think my wife was like one of the last standouts of like the online people. She just enjoyed it because like she has to go into the office and be able to come home and just like not have to go anywhere else.
That's
was like a big thing for her, and it was easier to rather than to like, oh, I'm gonna get my stuff and rush off to the gym, or like make sure you've packed your car. Like it's all her stuff is there. She can just do it.
There are a lot of really great apps,
I was just
too.
gonna say, like, I know, like, Peloton has, like, a whole, I've never done it before on there, but, like, I would think that there's a lot of, like, options. It's maybe not a local studio.
Sure.
That has yoga.
I've suggested apps. I definitely have
she doesn't
suggested
like that
idea. She likes kind of like
human.
being able to connect with people. I think that's important to her. So less the standoffish that I was talking about, and more of like the connectivity.
Yeah, but I guess if she were to go with the app or try out an app, a lot of them do have like try for a week free, kind of going into that drop in, so you could try multiple classes and at least see if it's something that you vibe with. Yeah.
Well, my other question is kind of related to this. Are there benefits to? We've already kind of talked about maybe some of the ease of virtual, but like, what are you missing by not being in person, or vice versa? Like, how would you describe those two things? Because I know you do both.
Yes. So I would say one of the things when I was doing it a lot at home that I was missing in person is the community. So you get there and the socializing. Again, I was just singing with some random person before I came in here. I like to socialize with people, but there are people that do not. So maybe the people that do not like to socialize, they prefer to do it at home. The other piece that I like about being in an actual studio is I feel a little more challenged to try a little bit harder or to actually do the entire, I want to call it routine, but that's not the right word coming to mind right now, But at home, if I'm feeling lazy, then I'll just, I'll grab another drink of water. Or, if I'm just not feeling it today, I'll find myself taking little breaks here and there. But when I go in person to a class, I'm doing the whole thing. And I'm trying hard the whole time. So it's that added challenge of having people around you, even though, I emphasize keep your eyes on your mat and, do what feels good to you. It is kind of like being on a treadmill, right? Like if somebody's running next to you, you're going to maybe feel that.
Notch that up a couple.
Yeah,
You're
going to feel that. Okay.
For sure.
They're going 7 miles per hour. Hold on, I got 8. I can do this.
Yeah, well, or 4. Yeah, so, I mean, there's benefits both ways, right? So maybe you don't like that pressure of trying to go a little further than what's out of your comfort zone. So at home is the way to go for you. Maybe you're just starting. So just getting used to the terminology or going from pose to pose. So starting at home is, I don't know, just right for you.
Yeah, I think a number of factors can kind of lead into it. But I really like the idea of like having the option to be in person and giving yourself, especially because one of my other questions is around like advancing in your practice. I think like certainly you can kind of hit a wall and be like, yeah, this is fine. I'll just keep doing the relaxing style of yoga and then taking occasional breaks throughout it.
Yes.
So like if you're trying to advance in your yoga practice, I think going in person is definitely one of those things that would potentially help based on what you're talking about here.
Yes.
What else might you want to do to help advance in your practice?
Okay, so this is a really tricky question. Advancing in your yoga practice is a total mental thing because one of the basic principles of yoga is that you're letting that stuff go, right? You're not competing with yourself. You're not doing these. So again, keeping your eyes on your mat, And
I have a fundamental misunderstanding of what yoga is. Okay. That's like,
no, it's not that necessarily. It's just, letting go of those barriers that are preventing you from doing that, right? So, like, I'm holding on to this because it's important for me to do better, to go further, to do this, to do that. When really it's just, this is where you're at now, and that's okay. So really just understanding, like, okay, well, today I can bend over, touch my toes, no problem, and that's okay. Maybe tomorrow I can only bend over and touch my knees, and that's okay. Like, you're at a different place every day because your body is different every day. So advancing your yoga practice is just, it's almost that mental game with yourself and just learning to be okay with where you're at. So really just, it's mental.
Makes sense.
yeah.
You don't think so?
No, I totally like
not sold.
the kind of workouter that I am is like, oh well, you got to set goals, and then you got to like if I'm thinking about yoga, I'm thinking about like the person who can like do this thing where they're like on their arms and like and that's not the right way to think about it, is what you're saying.
So if you release some things in your mind, like, I have to do this by the end of the year, and just go with what feels good in your body, then I think you can achieve those goals just secondary. Because you're not pushing yourself, you're not going to tear muscles, you're not going to do unrealistic things because you're holding on to some potentially unrealistic goal.
When I mentioned like the letdown of that, or like the frustration with not nailing that, and your time frame is only setting you back too, right?
Yes,
like,
absolutely. Because a lot of this goes back to that mindful piece, right? Like, understanding that this is where I'm at today and being okay with it. Because inherently, if you're practicing something like this daily, you will get better. You better being relative, right?
Yeah.
So you will advance further, whatever that looks like for you.
Okay, I'm on board. I got it.
When I read that question, I was like, okay, let me noodle through this answer, because that's the one where I was like, it's not about, what you're thinking. It's not about throwing weights on a barbell and getting to a bigger weight. Yeah, it's different than that. It's all a mental challenge against yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes yoga so much different than any other form of like exercise per se. It's I think equally as mentally like taxing as physically, or maybe more so mentally taxing.
Yes, because think about a day, maybe if you guys practice yoga at all, and you're doing maybe a vinyasa flow, or you're just trying to do a basic stretch, and it does not feel the same. Like, you can't just do a basic twist, or you need to grab props and use blocks, and you're like, I didn't have to do this yesterday. You find yourself getting so frustrated, right? And it's all that mental game. But that's okay, because in 2 days you'll be able to do it. You're just in a different place today.
Okay, we have to seek inner peace. All right.
There you go. You got it.
Well, this might be a related question too. Then, is there a right cadence for, like, practicing yoga for relaxation versus like the working out piece? Is that a different? Am I using wrong terminology?
Okay.
All the way through this as well.
So no. So I kind of came up with a little bit of a prescriptive answer for this one.
Okay.
The CDC recommends like an intense workout of 150 minutes per week. So if your yoga class, I'm using air quotes for that, is an intense workout for you, then you can count that in your 150 minutes. But if it's not an intense workout for you, then don't count it in the 150 minutes. So it completely depends on what type of class that you're taking and what it does for you. So if you go to a flow class and it feels intense, then count it. If it does not feel intense, then don't count it. So it all also depends on what the intent of you taking that class is, right? Are you taking that class as a mind-body connection, or are you taking it as a fitness class? Because I think that those are two separate things too.
For sure.
Like when I teach a flow class, I'm not teaching it to be a fitness class. I'm teaching it to be a mind-body connection class. So when you get to that end and you're lying there for 5 minutes, you're able to shut off your brain.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of back to that. How is it working for you? Is it in that 150 minutes or not?
All right. Okay. I mean, that makes sense. You have to kind of, it goes back to the whole concept of Vicki bringing you into this is yoga and mindfulness, and this is the mindfulness piece, and you're just challenging us. I appreciate it.
I don't know if Tyler likes your answers.
I appreciate it. Okay, all right. The last one that I have for this section is around how do I make my at-home workout space more yoga-friendly?
So it depends. It depends. Oh, man. I got that face right when I said it depends. No, it really truly does what you want to get out of your space.
Yeah.
Right? So when I'm practicing at home, I want to be peaceful with it. Mm-hmm. So I want to be in a space where my kids aren't going to bother me. Mm-hmm. So it's in my bedroom, and I will shut the door. So that way, when I'm at the end of my class, again, for me, yoga is mind-body connection. That's my intent. That's what I want to get out of it. And at the end of my practice, it's about being able to shut off my brain. So having that little bit of peace is critically important for me. So I want it to be a little bit dark. I want it to be somewhere where there's not a lot of noise and I can shut down. But for someone else, if it's about the fitness, if it's just about the stretch, there's no other piece there, then just setting up that space where you have room. Mm-hmm. So it's really going back to the intention. What am I doing this for? What do I need to get out of it? And then curating that space around it.
That makes a lot of sense. And this ties back to really the last question that I have, and Renee brought this up. Thank you, Renee. Was around how do you set mindful intentions? Because we probably should have started with this question. Now that I'm thinking about this again.
Next time.
But I honestly I think that's where
be a whole episode.
Yeah, we certainly that's where I think all of my questions come back to is how do you get to this answer? Being able to kind of think about what you're trying to achieve and make sure that it's the thing that you're going for. So how would you suggest somebody goes about being mindful about those intentions?
So being diligent about it, which it almost sounds counterintuitive, mm-hmm. right? But if your intention is, I want to be mindful today. I just want to I want to shift my focus from being so chaotic of I'm focused on next week, next month, or all of the 20,000 things I have to do today, tomorrow, whatever. Start in the morning. First thing when you get up, I am going to worry about the things I can worry about right now. And just repeating something like that throughout the day. Once you find your mind wandering, I'm only going to worry about what I can worry about right now. And just finding some phrase mm-hmm. that can draw you back to a present moment. And a lot of that has to do with igniting your senses too. I know we kind of talked about that last time. What are 4 green things you can see? What is something that you can smell? What is something very distinct you can hear? Maybe it's the hum of the air conditioner. And thinking of that phrase or whatever it is that can bring you back to your present moment and truly believing it. So I'm only worrying about what I can change right now. So starting small with something like that. Or one of the things that I have is an intention card that I change every couple days on my bathroom mirror. And that's the intention that I think throughout the day. I have one on my kids' bathroom mirror for them. It's just a little more straightforward, I am beautiful, or mm-hmm. I am wonderful, just something very small phrase. Mm-hmm. So they can think about that throughout the day and just starting very small, because it is a lot of work at the beginning, But then once you're able to get into a habit of doing it, it becomes a little easier. So then you can start setting different intentions.
So I have to think about it, and
You have to think about
and
it.
You have to do it.
Yeah.
It's just like with anything, you actually have to do it.
Boy. Okay. Well, I think I have got some homework to do. I thought this was going to be more about questions for my wife, and it feels like
You've got some learning to do.
I do. Okay. Well, Becca, Hilary, any other questions for Vicki before I let her have final word here?
I don't think so. I wanted to tell you, I thought of you the other day. I was teaching a workshop on public speaking, and we were talking about like the anxiety that comes with public speaking. And so I had them do like a mindfulness exercise, and I was like, Vicki would be so proud of me. But I had them close their eyes and then like slowly consider like 3 things they could smell. Was it their
That's
coffee, their
wonderful.
fragrance? Was it the room just cleaned? Things that they could feel. Is it the chair under their seat, their feet on the floor, things like that. And then like you could just see them, like everybody just like relaxing a little bit. And I was like, Vicki would be so proud of me.
That
right
is
now.
so great. I think even outside of public speaking, those are just such great tools for people to have. Good job.
Yeah, it was so good.
Brown noser. Okay. Vicki, any other thoughts for us about like finding yoga gyms, about like mindfulness, around like being intentional about your practice and being okay with where you are today? Anything that you want to leave us final word?
Okay, so that was a lot of questions.
Yeah,
in
all of
one.
it. Yeah, all at once. That's how I roll.
No, okay, so I think my biggest thing is just try, it's a lot. It's a lot to think about, like, am I doing this right? Am I being intentional enough? Am I doing my practice right? Am I practicing yoga enough? Am I exercising enough? I think it's a lot of pieces for people to take away. And at the end of the day, you just need to find things that make you happy. And if you've done enough throughout the day to make yourself happy, that's all that matters. So I think at the end of the day, one thing that makes me just subliminally happy is to have just like an impromptu dance party. So like if I'm feeling overwhelmed or I have not been mindful enough, that's like the one thing that we do.
I love that.
Impromptu dance
That's
party.
fun.
You're not going to make us dance right now,
Yes,
are you?
right now.
Okay.
No, so you've just got to find that one thing
Okay.
that you can just do at the drop of the hat, that it's like, okay, you know what? Today's been a really stressful day. This is what we can do.
Yeah. I like the idea of like a go-to happy break that you can I think that's one thing that I can actually do versus all the things that you told me.
I could tell this was a lot.
So I love that. Thank you, Vicki. And of course, thank you, Becca and Hilary. And I want to thank Scott and Renee and everyone who's listening. Remember to like, rate, and subscribe to the I Am Home podcast. And hop over to nfm.com to learn more about our company and shop 24/7 for today's top furnishing styles. We'll be back again soon with another episode. Till then, remember, home is what you make it.
Thanks for joining us today for I Am Home with Tyler Weisskopf, Hilary Woltemath, and Becca Sudbeck. No one knows home quite like NFM. So if you'd like more information on home design at NFM, please check out nfm.com and leave us a review on the podcast platform of your choice.